It is Friday, August 29th, 2025, and this is what you need to know about the UFL and saving the Panthers, potentially Kentucky becoming another relocation for 2026, and the move of the 2025 UFL College Draft process. Let's go ahead and dive right into all these stories as we head into a Labor Day weekend, holiday weekend here in the United States of America. Let's go ahead and roll with, first and foremost, let's talk about Kentucky becoming a relocation spot. Now, of course, this was a location that James Larson and many of the football or spring football news outlets and everything covered about 2 months ago at this point, with the rumors of the relocation happening. Well, Repole has tweeted out about it and basically taken another post from UFL Fans page, who says, this is from UFL Fans page on X. This is Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. This would be the perfect size stadium for what the UFL is looking for in one of its potential markets for next season, with a capacity of 15,304, expandable up to reportedly 20,000 seats total. And then he tags Repole stable in his post. Now, of course, shortly after posting this, Repole replied, "I love Kentucky." Of course, he owns a lot of horse racing team and everything like that. He says, would Louisville and Lexington rally behind a UFL team? Lynn Family Stadium feels like the perfect place to make this happen. And again, we've talked about Lynn Family Stadium. It does look like a great choice for the UFL moving forward. But again, it remains to be seen. Now, of course, one thing I will note with the relocation and the new markets and things like that, when the UFL posted about the Columbus team and making it official on the UFL.com, one thing I did notice is in their drop-down menu on their actual page, there is a spot for new markets. Obviously, Columbus is the only thing under there, but it's very interesting when you dive into it, because you wouldn't think they would just create a separate tab in their drop-down menu on their website for new markets if it was only going to be one. Excuse me. I do think that with Repole now essentially tweeting out that, kind of sharing the UFL Fans post about Kentucky and Lynn Family Stadium, is that most likely, I would assume this is part of the plan. Obviously, we know Repole in the past, especially with the Birmingham Stallions, kind of led fans down that, oh, well, we need to get this and this to save the Stallions, when in reality it was all a business tactic to get more sales and everything like that, which it worked. But this is kind of where that whole scenario comes into play, where this is all kind of part of the plan. I do believe that Kentucky will be announced as the second relocation spot, but that leads us into the second story of the day, and of course, that is the Michigan Panthers, because I've heard some rumors that we could be getting the Memphis Showboats organization with their coaching staff, potentially, I guess, their coaching staff and players are being the team that's moved to Columbus. Well, a lot of people are asking, well, what about the Michigan Panthers? And I've got to say, it sounds like we could be keeping the Michigan Panthers in this realm, but there is a lot to say about that. So here is what has been said by Repole on social media about that. So again, he continues to share UFL Fans posts, which is very interesting, on X, and says, Mr. at Repole Stable, it's time we talk about saving the Stallions. And this was just from about 5 days ago. Saving the USFL Panthers now. We know the lease is rough at Ford Field, but there's other venues in the state, and Detroit has a new 15,000 seat stadium that will be completed in 2027. They increased attendance by 43% last season. #SaveThePanthers. So this is what Repole Stable said, or Mike Repole stated. I'm a big fan of Michigan and the USFL at USFL Panthers. Attendance was up this season, but the venue remains the biggest obstacle in this market. Michigan is a passionate football state with loyal fan base, but the current stadium options create too many challenges. That's why I keep coming back to this new stadium that's being built, which is Alumni 5 filled. He said, I need more info. This is exact type of venue I have in mind for the future of the UFL. I'm trying, and then we go strong arm emoji. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Then later that day, the Majors Detroit, which is I believe a sports news organization in Detroit, says Michigan Panthers co-owner, which is a weird way of putting it, Mike Repole on potentially keeping the Panthers in Michigan via the new Alumni 5 field that is being constructed by Detroit City FC. And he kind of quotes again. This is that quote he took from that post they took. But he says, we are ready. The question and concern is, will Alumni 5 field be ready for February 2027 or not till February 2028? We want in, which is weird that he talks about February, because are we starting to shift the season back more and more and more? And that's something else I do want to talk about, that part of this conversation on this Friday morning is that the schedule being moved as well is a big thing that could potentially be happening as well. And we could be hypothetically about 6 months away from the UFL season starting. But so there is that talk about obviously the Panthers and whatnot. We've not heard anything since then about the Michigan Panthers. I do think, again, I really hope they do not put this team on hold for a year. But obviously we know the building issues are a situation that's going on with the Michigan Panthers and the UFL currently. I still think they could easily go. It may not be perfect for 2026, but they could easily go to Eastern Michigan University that we've talked about on the channel previously or whatnot. But again, time will only tell on that. Moving along here, then we move over to the 2025 UFL College Draft process that has been delayed. This is courtesy of Pro Football Newsroom's James Larson, and I'm not surprised by this, to be honest, just because of the fact that we haven't had a full disclosure or breakdown of relocation, what's going on with these teams, coaching staffs, anything like that to really have a draft. But if this article states anything, we should get some concrete information over the next couple weeks. James Larson reports, once again, the 2025 UFL College Draft has been pushed back. League sources have told Pro Football Newsroom that the draft, which was originally scheduled for September 2nd, this upcoming Tuesday, is being moved to September 23rd. He says, as we said back in our original report, the UFL space is almost always fluid, which we know at this point. With September 2nd falling on Labor Day weekend, plus some of the recent developments within the league, moving it back makes sense. Currently, it is slated for September 23rd, but that could still change. There are a couple of potential quirks to the draft this time around. For free agent cuts from the NFL between the 2023 and 2025 draft classes, there is an allocation process involved. From June through December 1st, UFL teams can only sign cuts from the 4 teams allocated to them. We broke that down in how the process works late last year, and I've talked about that on the channel of what UFL teams are assigned to 4 different NFL teams based on their geographic locations and stuff like that. We have heard rumblings that the first couple of rounds of the UFL's 2025 college draft could feature that allocation process utilized. Hypothetically, that would mean that the DC Defenders couldn't draft a rookie cut by the Chargers early in the draft, as the Birmingham Stallions hold those rights. Again, this is not confirmed by any means, but worth noting as a potential add-on to this year's draft. Moving the college draft to September is a great move by the UFL. We've talked to plenty of personnel around the league who prefer the later date, as it gives them a higher chance of actually signing their draft picks for the upcoming 2020 or for the upcoming UFL season. As an anonymous UFL head coach puts it to us earlier in the year, I've never understood why we don't put the college draft later in the fall. I want to draft players who are going to be available to play soon. I don't want to wait a couple of years just to see they're still not free agents. It doesn't make sense. It also gives the UFL a chance to lock in their markets for 2026. New co-owner Mike Repole has referenced having the 8 teams announced by mid-September, which would align with the draft on the 23rd. Additionally, it also gives the UFL a bit more time to potentially solidify coaching staffs on the teams that currently have question marks, i.e. San Antonio and Memphis. The USFL, XFL, and UFL college drafts, both in 2023 and 2024, have already proven to be fruitful to multiple UFL organizations. It'll be exciting to watch the 2025 draft unfold, especially considering the adjustments this time around. What are your thoughts on the upcoming 2025 UFL college drafts? And what do you think about the potential of going to Kentucky for a relocation? And then, of course, what do you think about the Michigan Panthers? Now, of course, it all kind of buckles down to what exactly could happen with the Panthers and if they are able to find a venue in 2026 to actually be there. Right now, my guess is that the Memphis Showboats would move to Columbus, and then the Houston Roughnecks organization would move to Kentucky at this point. Other than that, if that leads to be where the Michigan Panthers are saved for the 2026 season, there would only be a relocation of 2 of the 4 teams that were originally determined that they could be moving. And I do think that could be a really big thing for the league here to at least keep those 2 teams. Those are your 2 biggest teams. Obviously, the Stallions and Panthers were in the USFL Conference Championship game the last 2 years or 2 seasons of the UFL. With the Stallions advancing in 2024, and then, of course, the Panthers advancing in 2025. So let me know again in the comments what you think about this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button below if you're not already. I have we've kind of narrowed that gap down. It was at 82% of unsubscribed viewership. When you're watching these videos, you are not subscribed, but that has got down to 75%. So we are cutting the gap here on subscribers. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and then we will see you back here on the flip side, keeping forward of this UFL news heading into 2026 season. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll see you on the flip side. Have a great one, everyone.